بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا اللهم زدنا علما إنك أنت عليم حكيم اللهم اجعل هذه المحاضرة حجة لنا لا حجة علينا يا رب العالمين أما بعد. This is our second class in the book Umdat al-Ahkam, which is a book from Sheikh Abdul Ghani al-Maqdisi rahimahullah ta'ala. Last week we covered one hadith, صح? One hadith. طيب. One hadith, and inshallah today maybe we'll cover 2 or 3. Allah knows best. So the start of this hadith was an Ibn Umar. Ibn Umar had. Have any of you ever heard of Ibn Umar? Ibn Umar. Who was he? Does anyone know? No one? Huh? The son of Umar. Umar who? Umar ibn Abdul Aziz or Umar ibn al-Khattab? Which one? Umar ibn Abdul Aziz. La. No, not him. Huh? When you say Ibn Umar was a companion of the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. His father was Umar ibn al-Khattab. Was from the Khulafa al-Rashidin, from the 4 rightly guided Khalifas. And so he mentions in this hadith, an Ibn Umar. When you hear a hadith and it says it was reported by Ibn Umar, this means that he is the one who heard. For example, he says, قَالَ سَمِعْتُ. He said, I heard. This is a very strong hadith when a companion say, I heard or I saw. So he said, قَالَ سَمِعْتُ. سَمِعْتُ, يعني I heard. I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam yaqul. I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, I heard him say, إِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. That if you see it, then fast. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَأَفْطِرُوا. And if you see it, then break your fast. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَاقْتُرُوا لَهُ. And if anything impedes it or prevents you from seeing it, then make it tight. Tighten it. And we will explain that in a minute. The first thing, it says, إِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ. If you see it, they're talking about the hilal, or the crescent moon. Then you should fast. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ. And if you see the hilal moon again, then you should break your fast. Meaning, this is the beginning of the Eid. This is the Eid, the first of Shawwal. The first of Shawwal. Shawwal is the month that immediately comes after what? Ramadan. Ahsant. So he says, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. And if something, and if it's cloudy, فَاقْتُرُوا لَهُ. They make it tight. And we will explain that in a minute. Now this hadith was reported by Imam al-Bukhari and Imam Muslim. So in this hadith, before I start to explain it, what can you guys give me from this hadith? What can we extract from this hadith?
The first part and the second part.
Any part.
It's 3 parts, I believe.
Okay, so
The first part is like whenever you see the moon, when it's time for Ramadan, start fast.
whenever you see the moon, when it's time for Ramadan, start fasting. It's good.
And the last part is, at the end, when you see the moon for the month that follows Ramadan, you should just break your fast. That's the first day. That's Eid. That's the first day of the month that follows Ramadan.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good.
But the last part, I'm gonna need some explanation for that one.
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody want to help him? Huh? He said he needs an explanation for the last part.
When you say tighten.
When it says tighten it, if it becomes cloudy or something like that, then you tighten or restrict it. What does that mean?
Tighten on what?
Tighten or restrict it.
Or restrict it?
Yeah, but what is that referring to? I'll explain that later. Because there's an explanation for that. So basically what we can get from this hadith is, if you see the moon, you fast. If you don't see the moon, if you see the moon, you fast. There's something else that can be extracted from this we'll talk about that in a second. When we mention a hadith like this, إِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. This hadith here is a powerful hadith that's used when it comes to determining when Ramadan is coming in. So when we look at some of the statements of the scholars regarding this hadith, according to Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah, he says, أَنَّهُ يُدُلُّ عَلَى تَعْلِيقَ الْحُكْمِ بِالرُّؤْيَةِ. This hadith, it shows that in order to say that it's the month of Ramadan, then you have to see something, right? So they say this hadith shows that a person has to see something. You have to look and see. Birru'ya. But this does not necessitate that every single individual sees the moon. Rather, a person. Anyone can see it. وَيَسْتَدِلُّ بِهِ عَلَى عَدَمَ تَعْلِيقَ الْحُكْمِ بِالْحِسَابِ الَّذِي also, Shaykh Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah, he says that this hadith also shows that a person should not rely upon calculations to determine when the month of Ramadan is coming in, based on this hadith. So a person might ask, where in this hadith does it show that we should not rely on calculations that people do? The Prophet ﷺ, he said, إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ, if you see it. Ibn Daqiq al-Eid rahimahullah, I think he died in the 6th century. If someone can correct me, I think it's the 5th or 6th century. At any event, he said that this here is a ta'liq al-hukm, عدم ta'liq al-hukm bil-hisab, that we should not rely on the hisab, calculations, in order to determine when the month of Ramadan comes in. However, there are some scholars that also hold the position that it's permissible to use calculations, and this is based on the ending part of the hadith, and ghumma alaykum. If it becomes cloudy or things like that, then you restrict it. So, some may use that to substantiate that it is okay or allowable to use calculations. However, this is not the majority position among the scholars of Islam, and Allah knows best. Another benefit we can extract from this hadith, يَدُلُّ عَلَى وُجُوبَ الصَّوْمِ عَلَى الْمُنْفَرَدِ بِرُؤْيَةِ هِلَالِ رَمَضَانِ. If one person sees the hilal, or the crescent moon for Ramadan, then it is an obligation for that person to fast, regardless of whether or not the people believe him or accept his or her statement. Is that clear? Does that make sense? No. All right. If one, say for example, on the 30th of Sha'ban, you go outside and you look and you see the crescent moon. You see it. And you tell all the Muslims, listen, I saw the crescent moon. They're like, get out of here. We're not going to take that from you. Does that mean that, okay, you're going to wait with everybody else to determine whether or not they see the moon or not? No. You go with what you saw. In this case, it becomes obligatory for you only to fast. Whereas if people believed him and considered them to be trustworthy or what have you, then it is upon everyone in that locale to fast based on his ru'ya, based on his sight, based on his sighting of the moon. It says, the next one, or another benefit we can extract from this hadith, is that when it comes to a person, when it comes to breaking the fast, when it says, وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَأَفْطِرُوا لَهُ, that if you see it, then you break your fast. Breaking your fast here, many of the scholars say that it should be two people. Two people, adilain, two people that are just, that are considered to be people that are just and trustworthy. It should be two of those people that inform the masses that it is time to break their fast. However, if one person sees it, if one person sees it and no one believes it, meaning sees the shawwal, say, hey, now is the Eid, then they say, and Allah knows best, there's a position that says that these people should also break their fast sirran. Sirran means quietly by themselves and do not inform other people. Why would it be, what's the wisdom behind them breaking their fast by themselves and not informing others? What's the wisdom behind that? Does anyone know? Can anyone think of the wisdom behind that? Anyone? No, but let's listen to the issue. When it comes to breaking the fast for Shawwal, to say, hey, I saw the moon for Shawwal. The Eid, remember we said the night comes before the day. So in the evening, they go out and they see the moon. It's okay, now is the Eid. Tomorrow morning, we will be praying the Eid. One person sees it or two people see it. But the rest of the people don't accept their shahada or their witness with regards to this. What should they do? So there's a position that says that they should yuftir sirran, that they should break their fast, meaning the next day, while everyone else is fasting, they should break their fast sirran. I asked you all, what is the wisdom behind them doing that? Is there any wisdom for that? Why would they, if they saw it, why do they have to be quiet about it? Why do they have to be quiet? Is there any wisdom behind that? Ahsant. Not to cause fitna or khilaf. Khilaf or shar. As we're going to come to some issues right now, as we're going to read some statements from Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di and his ta'liqat on this hadith. And he starts off by saying, in the last part, فَإِن غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَاقْدُرُوا لَهُ. And if it becomes cloudy, then restrict it. Restricting it here means what? Either restrict the month of Ramadan or restrict the month of Sha'ban. Does that make sense? Restrict means shorten. Do we shorten the month of Ramadan or do we shorten the month of Sha'ban? What does that mean? How do you shorten the month?
By either adding one day or subtracting.
Ahsant. Either adding one day or subtracting a day. Well, how does that happen? Let's say, for example, a person is fasting or the 30th night of Sha'ban. So we're going out and we're looking for what? We're looking for the moon, right? So we go out, we're looking for the moon, and we don't see it. Why don't we see it? Because it's cloudy. Huh?
Conditions are not right.
The conditions aren't right. It's cloudy, it's raining, it's whatever. So in this case, as with Ibn Umar, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he would wake up the next morning fasting. He'll wake up and assume that this is Ramadan and fast that day. Whereas others from the scholars of Al-Islam, they say, look, if it's cloudy, then you delay Sha'ban an extra day. You make Sha'ban an extra day. Why? Because another narration of this hadith, it says, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ عِدَّةَ ثَلَاثِينَ. Another narration of this hadith, it says, use it to complete 30 days. Use that time to complete 30 days. Does that make sense? Or no? If I lost you, tell me. I lost you?
In this case, it's only 30 days.
Say again?
In this case, it's only 30 days.
Okay, so listen. In Islam, in a lunar month, there can only be 29 or 30 days. There can only be 29 or 30. There's no more than 30 days. And there's no less than 29 days. Either 29 or 30. What determines whether there are 29 or 30 days? Sighting of the moon. Right? If we sight the moon on the... So let's come up with a scenario here. Let's look. The 30th night of Sha'ban. Think with me for a second. The 30th night of Sha'ban. Why are they going out looking for the moon on the 30th night of Sha'ban? Understand something. Before Maghrib, these are some preliminary things that we must understand first. Number one is that the night precedes the day. That's number one. Number two, at Maghrib represents the change of a day in the night. At Maghrib. So then, before Salatul Maghrib, it was the 29th day of Sha'ban. Is that clear? We said that a month can be what? 29 or 30 days. So we automatically know that there are definitely going to be at least 29 days in the month of Sha'ban. Definitely. So on the night of the 29th, which will turn into the 30th night. So every 29 days, there's definitely going to be a 30th night, depending. So on that night, after Maghrib, we're going to go out and look. If we see the crescent moon, then this means that that 30th night becomes what? The first night. The first night of Ramadan. And in the morning will be the first day of Ramadan. This is why on that evening, we find people praying Salatul Taraweeh. This is because this represents the first of Ramadan. However, if we go out and we don't see it, on that night, if we do not see the crescent moon, then this 30th night is the 30th night. And after Fajr will be what? The 30th day. Okay? After that, can you shut that door, Sheikh? Can you shut that door? After that, there will be the 30th day. Is that clear? Right. So then, this hadith here, it says, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَاقْدُرُوا لَهُ. If it becomes cloudy, then restrict it. So here the scholars of Islam differ. Restrict what? Restrict Sha'ban to only 29 days? Or lengthen it. Lengthen it to 30 days. Which is it? Are we going to shorten it or lengthen it? The month of Sha'ban. This is where the difference of opinion comes with the scholars of Islam. Another issue from this hadith is that the scholars of Islam differ with regards to seeing the crescent moon. Meaning, if you say إِذَا رَأَيْتُمُوهُ, if you see it, is this for one location? Meaning, if we live in Philadelphia, or just for everyone around the world? And we spoke about that in our last class, going through Zad al-Mustaqni'. We spoke about the local sighting versus the international sighting. And what is it based on? It's based on the understanding of this hadith. The ones that say that all the Muslims have to fast with one sighting, they use this hadith. And the ones that say, no, we have to use the local sighting, they use this hadith. So a person might say, well, how is that possible to use the same hadith but come up with two different rulings? It happens. In fact, it happens a lot more frequently than many of us think. In many cases, you have the same hadith and you have opposing positions using the same evidence. So a person might say, well, how did that happen? It's because they all look at the hadith and extract what they see to be correct, and Allah knows best. It's a lot more extensive than that without us getting into a lot of great detail. So here are some statements about shortening or lengthening the month. قال النافع عن ابن عمر. Who was Nafi'? Nafi' was the free slave of Ibn Umar. Nafi' was the free slave of Ibn Umar. Ibn Umar was the son of who? Umar ibn Khattab. And they all were what? Companions of the Prophet ﷺ. And it's also very important to note, when you see a hadith like this, if you see the moon, then you fast. And if you see it again, then you break your fast to the end of it. It's always important to look at who narrated the hadith. Ibn Umar narrated the hadith. Now his student is saying this about Ibn Umar. He said, كان عبد الله بن عمر. His name was Abdullah. كان عبد الله بن عمر رضي الله تعالى عنهما إذا مضى من شعبان 29 يبعث عن من ينظر. He said that if 29 days go past the Sha'ban, he will look for a person to go out and look and see if they see the moon. فَإِنْ رَأَى فَذَاكَ. If they see the crescent moon, then they know that that night is the first of Ramadan. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَرَى. If they don't see it, وَلَمْ يَحِلْ دُونَ مَنْظَرِهِ سِحَابٌ وَلَا قَطَرٌ أَصْبَحَ مُفْطِرًا. He said if they don't see it, then they will wake up, in the morning eating again. In other words, the 30th day of Sha'ban, after the 30th night. Are you with me? Right. So then he says, وَإِنْ حَالَ دُونَ مَنْظَرِهِ سَحَابٌ. If, when they go out on the 30th night, and they look and they see a cloud, أو قطر, anything like rain or mist, أصبح صائما, then they would treat that night, meaning that morning of the next day, as the first of Ramadan. So they would be fasting. And this was reported by Abu Dawood wa ghayruhu. وَكَذَا كَانَ عُمَرْ ibn Khattab. And like that was his father, Umar ibn Khattab, رضي الله تعالى عنهما. يصوم إذا كانت السماء في تلك الليلة متغيمة وليس هذا بالتقدير. And he said that even Ibn Umar or Umar ibn Khattab, he would do the same thing if he found that the night was cloudy. He would wake up fasting the same way. وَقَدْ رَوَى الرَّبِيعُ عَنِ الشَّافِعِي. And this was reported on the Rabi', who reported this narration on Imam al-Shafi'i. And he said, أن Ali ibn Abi Talib, رضي الله تعالى عنه, that he said, لأصوم يوما من شعبان أحب إلي من أن أفطر يوما من رمضان. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, he said, if I were to fast, لأن أصوم يوما من شعبان, if I were to fast one day in Sha'ban, assuming, for example, if they go out at night and it's cloudy, then they fast the next morning, even though it really could have been Sha'ban. Are you guys with me? It really could have been Sha'ban because they didn't know, because it was cloudy. So they fasted assuming it was Ramadan. But maybe it really could have been Sha'ban. So he said, لأن أصوم يوما من شعبان أحب إلي من أن أفطر يوما من رمضان. He said that it is better for me that I fast one day in Sha'ban, assuming that it was Ramadan, than for me to miss one day of Ramadan and it's not. Then for me to miss one day of Ramadan when I should have been fasting. Does that make sense? طيب. So then, we're going to read some statements from Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di rahimahullah. And he says, قوله فيه وجوب الصيام برؤية الحلال والفطر برؤيته. So from this hadith, we can find that it is an obligation to fast if a person sees the crescent moon. And likewise, al-fitru biruyatihi. And likewise, breaking one's fast with seeing of the crescent moon. That's number one. The next benefit we take from this hadith, al-ahwal al-thalatha ajma'u ala thintayni wa ikhtalafu fi halata wahida. Upon those three conditions, what were they? فَإِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَصُومُوا. If a person sees the moon, then they fast. وَإِذَا رَأَيْتَمُوهُ فَأَفْطِرُوا. And if you see it again, you break your fast, meaning for shawwal. فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ. And if it becomes cloudy, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. Then we should either tighten it or lengthen it. So the scholars of Islam, they agreed on three different conditions for this part of the hadith, or this hadith here, because they mentioned three different things. So he says, أَجْمَعُ عَلَى ثِنْتَيْن وَاخْتَلَفُوا فِي حَالَةٍ وَاحِدَةٍ. That the scholars of the past, they have agreed upon two things, and they differ upon the third thing. فَأَجْمَعُوا عَلَى أَنَّهُ يَجِبُ الصِّيَامِ إِذَا ثَبَتَ بِرُؤْيَةٍ وَاخْتَلَفُوا مَتَى يُثْبِتْ بِالرُّؤْيَةِ. So the scholars of Islam, they have agreed that it is wajib إِذَا ثَبَتَ بِرُؤْيَتِهِ, that in order to fast the month of Ramadan, you must be able to see the hilal. This is something that is established. وَاخْتَلَفُوا. And when they say agreed upon, this means consensus. This is a legislative ruling in the religion. وَاخْتَلَفُوا مَتَى يُثْبِتْ بِالرُّؤْيَةِ. But they differ, when do we establish that with seeing it? We already agreed that you must see it, but how do you do it? So he says, وَمَذْهَبِ إِمَامْ أَحْمَدْ أَنَّ يُثْبِتُ بِدُخُولِهِ بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدَلٍ وَلَوْ أُنْثَى. With regards to the school of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that Ramadan is affirmed بِدُخُولِهِ بِرُؤْيَةِ, that Ramadan is confirmed with a person seeing it, one person, even if it is a woman. Anytime you see something that says even if, this yashiru ila khilaf. This is an indicator that there may be a difference of opinion with regards to that. Anytime you read any books and it says even if, as if to show that there's an opposite position, that's what that means. وَأَمَّا هِلَالٌ غَيْرُهُ وَخُرُوجِهِ فَلَا يُثْبِتُ إِلَّا بِرُؤْيَةِ عَدَلَيْنِ. And as for the end of the month, meaning the end of Ramadan, the beginning of Shawwal, it must be done when a person, there are two people. There must be two people. Like, Al-Halat al-Thaniya, the next issue, أجمعوا, consensus, على أنه يجب الصيام إذا أكملوا عدة الشعبان 30. It is also known that it is an obligation to fast, obviously, when the month of Ramadan, when the month of Sha'ban reaches 30 days. Then it's obvious that after that 30 days, the next day is what? Ramadan. We already said that a month is how many days? 29 or 30. So then, if we reach the 30th day of Sha'ban, then the next day is automatically Ramadan. That's easy. The third one here, it says, اختلفوا فيها اختلافا طويلا عريضا وهو إذ حال دون منظره ليلة 30 من شعبان غيب وقدر حتى إن أحمد فيها 6 روايات. So, for a person that wants to study Islam, anyone that is interested in studying Islam, it's important to note that one hadith you look at, it might seem very simple, but then there are so many avenues that scholars of Islam historically look at this one hadith. So Imam Ahmad, rahimahullah, with regards to that last part, فَقْدِرُوا لَهُ, where he said restricted, right? He has 6 positions on that one last part. 6. And every position he has on it, they all have evidence to support it. So for people like us, we read these statements and we look for a scholar that we trust and we take that and we'll just be comfortable with that. I'm going to read some of these positions here. Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di rahimahullah, he says, Ahaduha, the first of them, yajibu sawmuhu. If it's cloudy outside, now remember the issue. The issue is what? When you go out on the 30th night to look for the moon, Imam Ahmad has 6 positions on this. The first one he says, yajibu sawmuhu. When you go out and you look at it and it's cloudy outside, then it's wajib that you fast. Obviously, this is based on the position of Ibn Umar. But the next one he says, yahramu sawmuhu. The next one says it's haram to fast it. And this is based on another hadith that says, fulfill up to 30 days. Are you with me? There's another hadith with another narration that says, فَقْدِرُوا لَهُ لِعِدَّةِ 30. There's another part of this hadith that says completed up to 30 days if it's cloudy outside. Right? Then there's a third position. He says, وَيُسْتَحَبُّ صَوْمُ. Then it is recommended to fast. And the next one is, it's recommended to eat. And the next one is, you can do whatever you want. And the next one is, and the last, tabi'ul imam. The last one is that the people follow the imam. They follow the imam or the people that are in charge and leadership during that time. This, ikhwan, akhwat, brothers and sisters, there are many issues in the deen like this. One hadith, many different positions on it, and every single position has dalil. This is why many of the scholars of Islam say it's important to study a particular madhab. Why is it important to study a madhab? Many of the ulama say this. This is because you don't get caught up in a bunch of different... This is just from Imam Ahmad, 6 positions. You go read about Imam al-Shafi'i, it's probably be another 6. Imam Malik, another 6. Imam Abi Hanifa, another 6. 6 times 4 is 24 positions. And each one probably has dalil. And you're going to be left scratching your head. I remember when we were in school, there was a brother, we were going over wudu, how to make wudu. And he was studying Bidayat al-Mujtahid, Ibn Rushd, Maliki. And when he was studying this book, we were talking about making wudu. And he said, before I took this class, I knew how to make wudu. Now, I have too many positions in my head that I don't know how to make wudu anymore. Because there's so much information. So then, Shaykh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di rahimahullah, He says, كُلُّهُمْ يَسْتَدِلُونَ بِهَذَا حَدِيث. He said, all the different positions all use the same hadith. He says, وَهُوَ قَوْلُهُ فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَاقْتُرُوا لَهُ مَعْنَا أَقْتُرُوا ضَيِّقُوا. He said, this hadith means to shorten. The reason why they differ on this issue, هَلَ التَّطْيِيقُ يَكُونَ عَلَى شَعْبَانِ. He said, does this restriction include, is it only for the month of Sha'ban, or are we restricting the month of Ramadan? He says, however, this restriction here, it seems like it's for the month of Ramadan. فَالْفِطْرُ أَوْلَى بِالدَّلِيلِ الْحَدِيثِ. He said it's better when a person goes out and sees that it's cloudy, then they should wake up not fasting. They shouldn't fast. And this is the position of Abdurrahman as-Sa'di, not my position. This is the position of the Sheikh, not me. I'm not giving my opinion. And so he says, وَبِالدَّلِيلِ hadith. And the dalil, his evidence, is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is also in Bukhari. He says, فَإِنْ غُمَّ عَلَيْكُمْ فَأَكْمِلُوا عِدَّةَ الشَّعْبَانِ 30 يَوْمٍ. He said that in another authentic hadith we find in Bukhari, where the Prophet ﷺ, he said that if it is cloudy outside, فَأَكْمِلُوا, then complete Sha'ban, complete the month of Sha'ban with 30 days. Complete the month of Sha'ban with 30 days. فَالْفِطْرُ أَوْلَى. And he said, and fasting in this case, or breaking one fast and eating in this case, is better. And then he mentioned some examples of some of the ulama in Najd. In Najd is an area in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They mentioned this issue and how some of those scholars dealt with it in the past. So he said, كان الشيخ عبد الله أبا بن طين يرى فطره. So he says, there was a sheikh. His name was Abdullah Abba bin Tain. He used to see that a person, when this situation, when it's cloudy, that they should wake up, eating, not breaking they shouldn't fast. Right? Then he says, وَلَمَّا كَانَ قَاضِيًا فِي عُنَيْزَةٍ. He was a judge in a town called Unayza. كَانَ يَعْمَلُ بِرَأْيِهِ. Then he used to rule based on that, with his position on that. فَلَمَّا رَاحَ إِلَى بُرَيْدَةٍ. But when he went to another town known as Burayda, and there are many ulama that come from these two towns. وَكَانَ قَاضِيًا تَلْمِيذَهُ شَيْخ سُلَيْمَانِ ibn Muqbil. And he said there was another judge there, and it was his student. And his name was Sheikh Sulaiman ibn Muqbil. That was his student. وَكَانَ يَرَى صِيَامَ ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ. And when he went to that town, Burayda, he met with his student Sulaiman, and his student Sulaiman took a different position. When it was cloudy outside, he would tell the people to get up fasting. So now we have two different positions, right? Sheikh Abdullah in his town, Unayza, the people would wake up and they wouldn't fast. They would eat when it was cloudy. And then another town, Burayda, the people in that town, when it was cloudy outside, they would fast. So we have two different positions. So what happened? He says, فَتَابَعُهُ الشَّيْخ عَبْدَ اللَّهِ أَبَا بِنْ طِينَ عَلَى رَعْيِهِ فَقِيلَ فِي ذَلِكَ فَقَالَ الْخِلَافُ الشَّرُّ وَالْاجْتِمَاعُ الْخَيْرُ. So his sheikh, meaning Abdullah Abba bin Tain, he followed his student in waking up fasting that day when he usually would break his fast. So it was said to him, why are you following behind him when you have a different position? And he said, Al-Khilafu Shar. He said, this is because differing is evil. Wal-Ijtima'ul Khair. And being united is good. And he says, وَهَذَا كَمَا وَقَعَ لِبْنِ مَسْعُودٍ. And then Sheikh Abdurrahman as-Sa'di, he mentions what happened to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was a Sahaba. And what happened to Abdullah ibn Mas'ud and Uthman ibn Affan. There's a situation that happened between both of them when Uthman was leading the Salah in Mina during Hajj. During Hajj, when a person is in Mina, generally you shorten your Salah. You shorten Dhuhr, Asr, you shorten those prayers. You shorten all of them. And so it says, وَهَذَا كَمَا وَقَعَ لِبْنِ مَسْعُودٍ مَعْ عُثْمَانٍ فَإِنَّهُ لَمَا أَتَمَّ عُثْمَانَ الصَّلَاةِ فِي مِينَا صَلَّى خَلْفَهُ ibn Mas'ud. So, listen to what happened. Uthman ibn Affan, he was from the leaders of the companions during that time. He was in Mina, and the practice is, anyone who makes Hajj, they're going to learn, the practice is while you're in Mina, you shorten your prayers. However, Uthman ibn Affan, he did not shorten his prayer. Rather, he made 4 rak'at. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, he prayed behind him 4 rak'at, even though he knows that he's only supposed to pray 2 rak'at. So kana yaqul. So Ibn Mas'ud, he used to say, لَيْتَ حَضِّي مِنْ أَرْبَ رَكْعَاتٍ رَكْعَتَيْنِ مُتَقَبِّلَتَيْنِ. He said, if only I can guarantee that 2 of the 4 raka'at that I prayed is accepted, then that's all he cares about. 2 of those 4 raka'at for dhuhr, for example, is accepted. فَقِيلَ لَهُ. So someone said to him, لِمَاذَا أَنْ تَنْفَرِدُ أَوْ تُقَصِّرُ. He said, why didn't you just pray by yourself and shorten your salah? Why did you have to follow behind him? فَقَالَ لَا الْخِلَافُ شَرْ. He said, no. This is the statement of Ibn Mas'ud. He said, no. He said, differing is evil. Differing is evil. أو كما قال ولهذا, and this is Shaykh Abdul Rahman al-Sa'di, he says, ولهذا قال تعالى, and this goes to the statement of Allah Jalla wa Ala, where Allah says, وَاعْتَسِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, hold on to the rope of Allah together, وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا, and do not separate and divide. فَالْعُلَمَاء رَحِمَهُمَ اللَّهِ يَرَاعُونَ الْمَصَالِحِ وَيُقَدِّمُونَ الرَّاجِحِ مِنْهَا. And so he said the scholars of Al-Islam, they look at يَرَاعُونَ الْمَصَالِحِ. The scholars of Al-Islam, they look at the pros, and likewise they look at the cons of any situation, وَيُقَدِّمُونَ الرَّاجِحِ. And they always put forward the thing in which they deem to be more beneficial for everyone. Is that clear? But this also goes, we live in a time where we have people in this town who say that students of knowledge shouldn't go to certain masjids and teach and so on and so forth. This is batil. Rather, a student of knowledge will go anywhere he feels comfortable teaching. Based on what? There's no dalil that says that Fulan cannot go teach here, you can't go. What is this? You go teach wherever you feel that you can be a benefit. This is based on masalih and mafasid. This is the dalil. And this is in what? Al-Qawa'id al-Fiqhiyya. It talks about this. It is important for people to weigh the masalih. The maslaha versus the mafsada. The pros versus the cons. The pros versus the cons. We had one of the mashayikh in Mecca. He mentioned to us one day, he said, here in the Mamlaka, or in Mecca, or in Saudi Arabia, for example, we have problems here. Some of the problems, the biggest problems we have here is sunnah versus bid'ah. Sunnah versus bid'ah. Why? Because most, if not 100%, 98% of the people there are Muslim. So their problem is sunnah and bid'ah. And he says, as for you in America, your biggest problem, yes, you guys have sunnah and bid'ah there, that's shak, no doubt. He said, but your biggest problem is Islam and kufr. Islam and kufr. He says, for us, our fitna, sunnah, bid'ah. That's our biggest fitna. Your biggest fitna is Islam and kufr. Belief and disbelief. So when you go back to your people, you have to understand that's what you're dealing with. Belief and disbelief. In spite of how people might look, in spite of what they may act like, you have to understand your job is to ensure that they become Muslim. Alhamdulillah. And if they stick to the sunnah and practice the sunnah even better, that is better. However, the most important thing is that the people remain upon Islam. And that once they understand Islam, you start teaching them the sunnah, shay'an for shay'an, little for little. And that is what we have for today, inshallah. Any questions?
I knew you was going to say that, though. As far as what our problem is.
It is. That's the reality. Any other questions? No questions? Tayyib, inshallah. We only finished one hadith, lil asaf. I wanted to do 3 hadith, but we only did 1. This is a tremendous hadith, and inshallah ta'ala we will continue with the next. This is probably our last class before Ramadan. If I'm not mistaken, Ramadan, maybe this Friday or Saturday. If it's Saturday, The Saturday morning class, inshallah, will be switched to right before Maghrib. Right before iftar, inshallah. Any questions, Ikhwan? Huh? Hayakum Allah. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.